How did you get 24,000 members?
Do you know what? I feel like we had to feel our way through it a lot and to try and learn what would work. And I think that unfortunately the answer is it's the really boring, consistent actions.
Today, we are bringing some serious sparkle to your earbuds. Zoe Whitman from the Six Figure Bookkeeper is here, and she is dressed to impress and ready to partner with us. Now, before I dive into what Zoe's going to talk to us about, I just want to welcome you back to the Master Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Deirdre Martin, triple certified award-winning, international best-selling author, helping entrepreneurs just like you to make their first 100,000 or their first million in their business. Okay, so Zoe Whitman, together with her business partner, Jo Wood, run the Six Figure Bookkeeper, and they're on a mission to empower bookkeepers to build profitable businesses that support their families and communities. They've grown a thriving Facebook community to over 24,000 members, all while battling the broken systems of traditional work and the pandemic. In this episode, Zoe's sharing exactly how they did it, how they built a community from scratch, the behind the scenes wins, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the strategies, and all of the things that they use to drive engagement and keep that community active. Trust me, you'll want to hear every minute of this, even if your community is not on Facebook. Maybe it's on LinkedIn, maybe it's on TikTok, maybe it's on Instagram, wherever your community is. This is definitely an episode for you to pay attention to because there's incredible value in it. Now, before we dive in, remember, if you find value in today's episode or you found value in any episodes you've listened to before today, please remember to rate, review, and follow the show wherever you're streaming from today. Okay, let's get into it.
Zoe, I'm so super excited to have you on the Master Your Business podcast. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. I basically came ready for a party vibe, so you're bringing that straight away.
Oh my gosh, and you look amazing. For those of you who are listening and not watching, she's got the most glamorous gold metallic blouse on and she just looks spectacular. I'm like, let's party.
Oh, I do, yeah, dress for a party every day. A party will come to you. That's what I like to think.
That's a great idea. I love it, Zoe. I love it. Always dress for the best. And today we are going to talk about Facebook and community and growing all of those things. But before we dive into that, please tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you came to be on Facebook and have a community.
Okay, right. I'm Zoe Whitman. I work together with a lady called Jo Wood, and I'm an accountant. Jo is a bookkeeper. And we started a Facebook community. Do you know what? Jo started a Facebook community before we really knew each other, probably in about 2018, 2019. And I got involved in 2020. My background is accountancy. I've been an accountant forever. It was my first proper job, trainee accountant. And I worked through local government and into various corporate roles. And then I had a baby. And I thought, I can't make working in a bank work around children. It was one of those kind of financial services departments where we all worked the weekend when it was the end of the quarter, and you'd work until 10 at night, and then the office would shut and you go to the office next door because that was open 24 hours. So I was like, this will not work for me. I need to make a plan. And I decided to become self-employed. I actually called myself a freelancer, and I got my license to be a freelance bookkeeper, which I quickly learnt was not the approach to running a business that I really needed to take. And in that time, I met Jo Wood, and she approached me. We were at an event. Lots happened in between. We were both speaking at an event, and she, I think, identified me as the person she needed to help grow this community. She said, we need to get together. We think the same. I'm trying to build this community to help other bookkeepers. Can we do it together? And then that started, and we've now got a community of about 24,000 members. So we day to day support bookkeepers with growing their businesses, and that isn't really about the bookkeeping element of it, the technical skills. It's about the business development skills that we don't learn when we are trained as accountants and bookkeepers.
Oh, fantastic. And I'll bet there are people listening who are bookkeepers and they're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like something I could be in. So what's the name of it? Where is it? And tell us a bit more about that.
So we have a Facebook community called the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club, which you can find on Facebook. If you just type in sixfigurebookkeeper.club, actually, it will take you straight to the group. We also have a podcast called the Bookkeepers Podcast, sponsored by Xero, and you'll see us on all sorts of other places in social media, but most of the work we do happens in the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club.
Okay, fantastic. So that's where to go to find you. And so it's 2024 now. You've been growing this community of 24,000 members over 6 years, right? 24,000, not to be sniffed at. So and I know how hard it is to grow an audience, full stop, but 24,000 is huge. So tell us, what was your strategy behind that? How did you get 24,000 members?
Do you know what? I feel like we had to feel our way through it a lot and to try and learn what would work. And I think that unfortunately the answer is it's the really boring, consistent actions the reason it's happened. When Jo and I first met and started, or I joined the group, she had about 100 members in the group. So she'd made a start. And I think that her approach had been just sharing what was happening for her as a business owner, as a bookkeeping practice owner, and trying to get a conversation started. Because, when you start a Facebook, have you got a Facebook group, Deirdre?
I have one, but I've actually made it dormant. I think I had about 500 people in it or something, and I closed, it's there, but it's inactive.
Yeah, and it's hard, like when you've got I reckon at 500 you're probably getting to a point where people start conversations themselves, but at the beginning it's like pulling teeth. You have to be involved in every single conversation. You have to start the conversation. You have to interact with the people who are asking questions. You're like, come on, people, this is not just about me. So at first it's hard. And I remember having a conversation with Jo. I don't know if you know this story. We actually decided before we went into business together, because we were complete strangers, we decided we had to spend a weekend together.
As you do.
So I was based in Bristol in the southwest of England, and Jo was in the southeast in Kent, and we decided we would meet halfway, which was Reading, and we booked this little Airbnb apartment and we spent the weekend together. And
you've been in a hotel in an Airbnb, so you had to cook and clean and things.
It was hilarious. Honestly, I remember walking around the town trying to not be there on time because it just felt weird. Like I went to M&S and got some like snacks. I was like, I don't even know this lady. Don't know what. So it was a very strange thing. But I can remember on that weekend talking about the Facebook group and saying what we have to do is be really structured about what goes out in the group. So we have motivation Mondays and tip Tuesdays and all that sort of thing, so that it's really really boring to think back to it now, but we had to do something to try and give us reason to be posting every day. And then we took responsibility for different days so we could try and share the load. But it really started like that. And I'll tell you what, the thing that I think has really in the group is when we started a podcast, we streamed video into our Facebook group, and having that live stream and people coming in and joining and watching it live. And then sometimes in a launch week, we would have back-to-back. I mean, we still do this. We'd have back-to-back podcast episodes, you could call them, maybe 3 a day in the Facebook group exclusively, the only place you could see that content. It really boosted the algorithm. It liked that because people were interacting. We were asking people to engage and like things and share their thoughts on things. And I think that the Facebook group grew because Facebook was pushing it out to people because they're like, this is good, people like it. And a lot of people have said to us, oh, have you used ads? And the truth is we've probably spent about £50 on ads ever because we didn't really know what we needed to do to make ads work. And the reason it's grown is just because Facebook suggests, so it looks like it's ads, but really it's just we can create that like buzz around the group when we have the energy ourselves to do it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me go back and see if we've captured this correctly, because in terms of the steps you took to grow it from 100 to 24,000, again, not to be sniffed at. And so the first thing is consistency. So that consistency in terms of actions that you took in the group, taken a really structured and strategic approach to the type of content that you were going to share. I know you say it might have been boring. It probably wasn't boring. You know, maybe the structure for you might sound boring now, but I don't think that would have been boring for your members, which is obviously why it resonated with them, and it's grown. So I think that's a little tip for you, Zoe. Be nice to yourself about boring and consistent actions. I think the other thing you mentioned there is a reason. So the reason why, and I think this is the crux of all marketing, really. It's knowing, why am I posting today? Why am I doing this? Why should people care about this bit of content, and really being clear on that? And I think that why gets so overlooked in content and marketing. And then the fourth one was video. And I think that's really, and you did say starting conversations as well, and then driving the conversation once you'd initiated it. But video, I guess, is probably a huge part, because people are getting to vibe with you, right? They're getting to see you, they're getting to feel how you look, and, you know, how you move, and how you sound, and how you interact with others. So yeah, have I captured all of the things?
Yeah, I think that making kind of binge-worthy content has really helped us. So the podcast is one of those repetitive things. Every week we go live in the group. I mean, I don't know if you know, the way Facebook allows you to stream into groups has changed recently. So in the last year, you can't stream with third-party software directly into a Facebook group unless you have a bit of a workaround. So because I think Facebook want you to be using their tools, and that has that's a challenge, because we want to be able to stream to multiple places. We want to stream to YouTube, we want to stream to LinkedIn at the same time. Why would we not try and do that if we can? So that has put I would say, a bit of a spanner in the works. We found a point where we might have had 100 people joining the group every week or something, and then it dropped to like 30 or 40, and we're like, that's because we're not putting the same content out in the same way. We've got to find another way. We have found, actually, what we've gone back to, learning that, is we've gone back to posting every day, not in that pattern of Thursday tips and Monday motivation, but instead just Jo and I creating personal brand related content and posting every single day. Same sort of things we put on LinkedIn, we put them in the Facebook group as well to start a conversation. And those kind of things can drive the interaction as well. So that's not video, that's just photo and saying a bit about who we are, because you'll find lots of Facebook groups, you don't really realize who owns them or runs them a lot of the time. You're like, I'm in this group, but I never knew there was actually someone who set it up. And so
True. Yeah.
yeah, so we try and like make the point, oh, we're here, this is our group, and welcome to our community, and you're now part of it. So that has been helpful. But something that has been really brilliant for us is our launch process up until quite recently has been to have a week-long launch, a live launch, which we call Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And we'll go live over 4 days. We go live 3 times a day. And that means, and we'll have guests, we'll have people from software companies, because we're talking to bookkeepers and accountants, but we'll also have guests who are talking about mindset or business growth or marketing, or, you know, the things that aren't necessarily our skill sets. And we're just like showcasing these people and asking them questions, and we learn every time. And I think that means that we're creating content that's helpful to our audience. But then we start selling our programs during that week as well. And because we've got that massive amount of content, like hours of streaming going on in that group, and we're trying to, often there'll be competitions, or if you show up and you use this emoji in your comment, we'll enter you into a prize draw and you'll win a book or a t-shirt or something. Those kind of things that get people, you want people pressing the button and adding things into the comments. That's what tells Facebook, oh, people are watching this. In fact, we've been told that if you even get, you know, when people like your video or they put a heart, and then you get the angry one, if you've ever had the angry one, you're like, oh, someone is angry with me. What have I said? And Jo and I will do that. We're like, what did we say? Why were they so angry with us? Actually, the algorithm quite likes it if someone's angry. So
oh my gosh.
Could someone please press the angry button for us?
That's hilarious to think that works in that way, isn't it? It's like probably something you never think. I can actually feel that feeling that I would have as well if I saw somebody press the angry button. But that's hilarious. So okay, I love where you're going with this, Zoe, because it makes so much sense in terms of engaging the community, and that's really what it sounds like you've been doing. And you mentioned at one point, that the algorithm has changed and it's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. So I've got two questions. Number one, how do you overcome that? And number two, in terms of the join rate, what have you done to kind of counter that as a result?
Okay, so what have we done? What did we do to counter the problem with the live streaming not being available? So we use StreamYard to stream into our group. There is another way to put a feed into a live stream in Facebook. So we've just worked out how to connect that up so we can still go live in a number of different places. I think that the challenge is, I don't know, this is my gut feel is I don't see as many people live on those calls anymore. So I don't know how Facebook feels about that, but that feels like a better result because people expect our podcast to be live at a certain time every week. And in fact, to the point that yesterday in the UK, it was the UK budget, autumn budget. So we decided we wanted to watch the end of the budget before we went live with our podcast. And people were emailing us to say, is there actually a podcast today? So people are expecting it and they've got it in their diary. So I think like we are still streaming it live because we know people expect it. I don't know yet whether, like, I don't know really what the long-term impact of that is, but it has made us focus on YouTube as a platform, because the thing with Facebook community or any social media platform is it could be shut down at any time. So you don't own it. So actually, if you can get people on different platforms, that's really helpful. I hope that we'll be able to monetize YouTube at some point in the future, which is always so close to getting the right number of views to be able to do that. But also, of course, it's about driving people to your mailing list and all the things that we know as well. So I don't know the answer. We keep trying to do what we used to do using a different route, but also think about how do we diversify this. And like I said, putting the posts out and just putting more personal brand content out has created new conversations where we weren't maybe doing that because we've been complacent, like this works, we carry on doing this, and then you think, oh, hang on a minute, it's changed now, I've got to change something myself. But we find that with every social media platform, don't we?
Yeah, things are changing all of the time, and our clients are changing because, like that, the budget has brought out changes which can have an impact on them in different ways, and their clients too. So I think it is about being current and knowing what's going on all of the time, and the sneaky platforms with their algorithms can be out to get you too. And okay, so that makes total sense. And hopefully those numbers will creep back up for you again soon and the attendees live will increase. Well, let's say in terms of the joining numbers then, talk to us around that. So you said there was about 100 people joining, was it each week or each month? And now it's down to about 30 or 40. What happened
So
there?
it dipped down. We did, and I think it was literally because we weren't streaming the podcast into the group anymore. I really think that's what happened. And then when we started streaming it again and started putting personal brand content in, those numbers have gone back up again. So I don't know that video is necessarily the secret behind Facebook group growth, but I think it's about consistency. And there must be something around admins posting that maybe has a higher ranking in the algorithm. That, I mean, I'm completely like, this is just completely based on gut feeling. No one has told me this, but it feels like if an admin posts, their post might perform better. So for example, we're not the only people who do the admin in our group, because Facebook groups are like, there's just so much going on. You get spammers all the time selling crypto, whatever, all the time. So we're really lucky that we have a group of ambassadors who, I was going to say work for us for free. That's not really the way to describe it, but they're involved in our programs, but in exchange, they share their support doing various things. And if one of those people posts, and someone did the other day, an accountant, one of the guys in the group, his post went mad. And I don't know whether that was the way he'd written his post or the subject. This is the thing, you've got to keep experimenting all the time. But those posts will do better than another post about something else by someone who isn't an admin. So it's really just like, how can we keep putting new and interesting content in that's going to make the conversation happen? Something we have done though, and the reason I know the numbers in terms of how many are joining the group, obviously we're trying to ask people to we want them to share their email addresses because we want people to join our mailing list. Ultimately, that's always going to be the goal. But I would say that we've probably only got about 25% of our Facebook group actually on our mailing list, if that's helpful in terms of how many people are prepared to share that information with you. So there needs to be a trade-off there. But why am I talking to you about this? I'm talking about why people want to share their email address with us. Oh, because when people join the group, every week you can put or whenever you want, you can put a welcome post in your Facebook group. That's one of the features in the Facebook tools. And you can welcome your new members with a message. And a lot of people will just say, welcome to the group. These are our new members this week. And then it lists all their names and tags them. What we do with that is we put a post out about an event that we're running this week. So we have a masterclass on a Monday night, Monday masterclass, and we will say on a Monday, welcome to our new group. All of you great people, you're just in time. We have a masterclass coming up. Why don't you come along? And then we'll tag them, and then we'll find those people register for the masterclass, which means whether they've shared their email address or not joining the group, they may well share their email address to join the masterclass. So yeah, so those people are being tagged and they're likely interacting with that. So new people joining are instantly within the first few days interacting with a post. And hopefully that also, I mean, my theory is that's telling Facebook again, they've joined this group and it actually is useful and they're using it. It's not just another one they've gone, oh, I'll join that, but hopefully they're sort of interacting. So there's lots of things like that. It's always thinking like strategically, what is the journey? Someone finds the group, how have they found the group and what do they want to do next? They probably want to learn something. They've joined because they need something. So let's invite them to a masterclass about something they really need.
That's a fantastic, and so much detail in there actually. And I think it's also really important that what you're doing in terms of trying to get them engaged in one way or another, because that creates a sense of belonging, I think. And sometimes those groups, I mean, I'm on Facebook. I don't really use it for business. I do stream my LinkedIn lives there every Friday. And I'm like, sometimes I might get a like or whatever. I'm not attached to any sort of metrics or anything on Facebook. And the reason being is because I've really focused my focus for my business specifically on LinkedIn. But I was really curious to talk to you about Facebook groups for two reasons today. And one was because actually on LinkedIn, I think there's a huge opportunity for people to leverage groups and build communities on LinkedIn in the same way that they have been doing so for years on Facebook. And I think that people aren't aware of that on LinkedIn, and there's definitely scope there. And so I was curious to learn, how did you do that on Facebook? And then I suppose the next step is, so that's how you grew it and how you get engagement in it. How can you take those people who join as members on the journey? So you've talked about your email list, but how can you take them on the journey from being strangers to being in your group to then becoming loyal clients? What does that look like?
Yeah, so traditionally for us in the last 4 years, in the past, what it's looked like is people join the group and we then do a live launch in the group over a week, which we call boot camp. And we have lots of great guests. We create a lot of hype. There's a lot of promotion. We ask people to sign up for boot camp. We send them emails. It's coming. We give them an agenda, sneak peeks of what's coming. It's all free. We give them the opportunity to win prizes. They have to come to certain sessions to be in the chance to win a prize, that kind of thing. But we will use that as a part of our launch. So there'll be a point during that week where we say, right, you've been here for pretty much every session. If you want to know more, this is how you can work with us. And it feels like the right time, I hope, in terms of how we structure that and the stories we're sharing with bookkeepers we've worked with, for people to say, yeah, actually, I have had a lot of value this week. The challenge with launching in that way, and I mean, if you've read Jeff Walker's launch, or there's a lady in the States, Kelly Roach, talks about live launches, it's all the same. It's the same kind of thing. So I've learned a lot from those people in terms of what a launch might look like, and we've tried to pull the bits that work for us and build something that looks like a repeatable bootcamp. The challenge is that what we do is we create so much content that people aren't ready to work with us because they haven't had time to watch all the content. And that, I think, is a real catch-22, because you want to be able to show people that you bring a lot of value and you've got a great network, and because we bring lots of experts into our programs, as well as it being Jo and I. So we want to say, look, we're going to bring these brilliant people to you, we're going to train you on all this great stuff. But if they haven't been able to watch the week of it yet, they're not ready to buy, and they've maybe got enough value in that week. So that's a really tricky balance, I think, for anyone selling any kind of online education. What does it look like now? Realizing that we've had a bit of a transition over the last couple of months, actually, where we've moved from selling courses, which would be like a high value offer. The reason to move away from that is you sell one high value offer and then you need to launch again to bring the next people into the high value offer, and you're always selling the next thing. You're always like build, oh, by the way, great news, you finished that program, let me sell you something else. Doesn't feel good. What we really want to be able to do is say, look, we've got everything you need right now. You need to start here, but when you're ready, the next thing will be over there, and you've got it for when you need it. So we've moved from selling courses to selling what really looks like a membership at a lower monthly sort of subscription cost. But it helps us because rather than our focus being on marketing and sales, our focus is now on customer retention and improving the programs so that those people get the best content all the time, because that will sell itself then. So it's really changed the shift. And we've had, I mean, I tell you what, changing that in the business has been a massive piece of work. Like the whole team has been on calls like every couple of days going, right, what's next? What do we have to do next? But it has been really positive, and the amount of people who we've been able to transition very quickly over the last 6 weeks has been brilliant. So we need to now sell differently, and a live launch won't be the right thing to do for that. But what I see is these Monday masterclasses I was talking about with you, I see those as being a really important part of that cycle, because there are 4 or 5 masterclasses that are written that we can go through, and we can, I don't want to say churn, because every time you come along, you deliver something different because you've heard something different, or, you know, there's a new point you want to share today. But we can roll those, talking about those issues that people have, that we then cover it in our Bookkeepers Collective, which is our membership. We can deliver that training, give people a start, give them some homework to do, and then say, when you're ready, actually, this is how we can help you the best, and this is your next step. And we can just keep sharing that message every single week. And that's my plan at the moment, to have that happen on a Monday, pitch every Monday. We can offer people calls to talk things through, but I don't think we need to invest our time in, if you're listening, I'm drawing this like arch with my hand of like this mountain to climb of the boot camp every time, because I don't think we have to launch in that way anymore. So
yeah, it's tiring. Those live launches, there's so much goes into them. So I totally get it. I've tried 5-day challenges and things like that before. There's so much goes into it in terms of all of the marketing comms and effort. They're quite exhausting, to be fair, and that's understandable from where I'm sitting. I can see the logic behind what you're doing, and congratulations, that's a huge achievement to be able to pivot in that way and switch so that the focus is on that membership and the retention, and people are getting all of the things that they need. So well done to you and Jo and all of your team on that. That's amazing. And well, I love to hear about that customer retention piece, because I've had the fantastic Ian Golding on the show, and Ian is, if you've ever heard of him, he has written multiple books about customer experience, and like some of the things that I quote from customer experience, I've heard from Ian over the years. He's like the guru, so he's great. And another really great person who I've heard speak about retention quite a lot recently is Will Guidera. He's written a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So for anybody listening, and customer retention is part of your strategy or focus right now, I'd really encourage you to go and check out that episode with Ian Golding, or to read that book by Will Guidera. Zoe, I think one of the questions I have is like, is Facebook where it's at for communities and memberships? Or like I mentioned LinkedIn, and I think that's untapped potential there. Like, what's the story? And then there's these broadcast channels on Instagram as well. Are you staying put on Facebook? What's happening with the 6-figure bookkeepers club? Where are you going?
Oh wow! Do you know, I want to ask you about LinkedIn now, because I don't know. I'm in LinkedIn groups and I don't see the engagement there, but that's because I'm not looking for it. So I'm curious. But I believe Facebook works for us because the target audience we have are using Facebook, and it's part of their day-to-day routine. So we've actually discussed whether we take our community off of Facebook onto a community platform, or so as part of our paid program in the Bookkeepers Collective, people join the Success Lounge, which is, there's a Facebook community for members, and so there might be like 200 people in that group, for example, and we've talked about, do we take people off of Facebook for the paid community first to try it and put it on the course platform, or, you know, one of the many platforms that you have for communities. And we've ummed and ahed about it over like several years now, and we decided we have to stay put because we trialed it. In fact, we trialed it with our mastermind using another community platform, and people just didn't use it because it isn't in their routine to use it. Facebook is in people's routine. They're still going to pick up their phone. Also, from an ads point of view, I think we will go into ads. It's all connected to Instagram, so it's really easy for us to actually have more reach if we are using Facebook. So there are lots of reasons to stay. My biggest worry is that we don't own it. We don't own the platform. That's always going to be a worry. But I think you want to be front of mind all the time because you need to keep reminding people of the value that you have. And the only way to do that is show up where they expect to see you. So for us, yeah, it is the place to be because our audience it's generally female. We have secret guy listeners to the podcast. Like we're like a guilty secret, but it's majority women in our community. And they're usually 30s, 40s, 50s, mums, might have kids at home, and they're checking Facebook while they're cooking tea. That's such a massive, terrible stereotype. But I'm a mum in my 40s and I look at Facebook to see what my friends are up to. So that's what that's where I am, and that makes sense. So
Yes, that makes sense. And you've got to go where your ideal clients hang out. So I love that that's where you started that bit of an explanation. That makes complete and utter sense. And I think for Facebook and for groups and members, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about some of the mistakes that maybe you've made over the years that you would caution others to avoid if they're going to or are struggling to grow on their membership on Facebook.
Problems that we've had with growing the Facebook community, you mean?
Yeah, as in maybe mistakes that you've made that you would caution others against.
I think when we were talking about those days right at the beginning, when we were thinking what kind of content do we put in the Facebook group, we thought everything had to be, I want to say, engineered. Like it had to look a particular way. We were trying to work out who were we and what was the brand and all of this, and it all was awful. It was absolutely awful. But it was all like Canva templates and like trying to look cool, and it really wasn't. And the best content is the stuff where like Jo dances in her kitchen or something. Like that's the stuff that really does well. So I would avoid thinking it has to be polished, because I understand like you're building a personal brand. It's about your reputation and you want it to look good and like what you're doing. But unfortunately we don't all know what we're doing at the beginning, and we just got to deal with it. So the best thing you can do is show up as your like genuine, authentic self, and that's actually going to create a better connection, because that's all this is about. You want people to feel connected to you, like they know you. There are lots of people that feel like they know me, which is hard when I meet people in person. I'm like, I'm really sorry, I don't know what your name is, and I want to know everyone's name. But hopefully that shows that we've done a good enough job of telling people the bits that we want to tell them about who we are. So we have built that connection, even if it's a little bit one-sided.
Fantastic. And I think I've asked all of the questions that I can think of that my audience might be interested in. Is there anything else that you think from a membership and community on Facebook groups that people should know?
Oh, what should you know? I suppose like the obvious question is about ads and also like what's the value in the size of the group? Because I think ads are in our future. I've mentioned that before. It's quite tricky to run ads to a Facebook group because Facebook wants you to run an ad to a page, and so that is hard, and that might be one of the reasons that we've sort of stopped, because it is hard to grow a page. It's much easier to grow a group. But there is, in terms of pursuing the growth, because the 24,000 members sounds great. We definitely don't have that many people paying us for anything, and that that will always be a consideration. Do you want to have the admin of growing a group where there's no sort of financial reward for doing that? But there is actually huge value in that group for sponsors and partners. So the reason to pursue that is to look into how can you collaborate with somebody. And in our space, where we're dealing with bookkeepers and accountants who have budget to spend on their business for something like software, there are lots of opportunities for us with collaboration. So we will still pursue growing the group for growth's sake, because there will be people in there who don't work with us, but who are the perfect customer for something else. And I think I think ads will be a part of that. I just don't know exactly what that looks like. So that you've probably got another episode about this that I now need to listen to find out what's next.
Fantastic. I love your honesty and transparency, Zoe. It's so refreshing to hear as well. And like that authenticity that you talked about is so underestimated by people. And like that, again, I was exactly the same when I started my business. I was like, it has to be professional and polished. And actually, it wasn't until I was like, oh, fuck that shit, just be me. And that things really took off, you know? And it was actually really eye-opening that that's what people connected with and resonated with most. So continued success to you and Jo in doing that in your community. And I have no doubt in my mind that you will grow to multiple six figures in your membership, never mind in your bookkeepers club, in terms of the name Six Figure Bookkeepers Club. So you'll have figures in your membership. And it's been really insightful to learn about Facebook and how that works. And thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Nice to chat. Thank you.
Nice to chat. And I'm going to share your links and details. So if anybody's interested in joining the group or learning more about Six Figure Bookkeepers Club, they can go and check you out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Frickin' hell. Whoa. Let's recap Zoe's journey with the six-figure bookkeeper, and what an incredible journey it's been, right? First, consistency is key. That was one of the main things I took away from chatting with Zoe. Show up every single day for your community. There's no on and off switch. You need to show up day in, day out. Second, embrace authenticity. Stop trying to be perfect and just be you. And, you know, perfectionism is really procrastination in disguise. So show the frick up. Third, go where your audience is. So for Zoe, that meant using Facebook because that's where her people hang out. But like I said in the intro, if your people are on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, YouTube, wherever they are, that's where you need to be. So here's what I want you to do next week. I want you to pick one channel where your ideal clients are and commit to showing up consistently every single day for the next 30 days. Now, this episode is releasing on Christmas Eve. You can start on the 1st of January. You don't need to start today. Whenever you're listening, that's when you start. But if it's Christmas Eve, you get a few days off for the holidays. Okay, what you need to do is post, engage, and bring value. Honestly, you will be amazed by what consistency can do. In my own business, consistency is what's resulted in me making multiple six figures. Okay, if you want more from Zoe and Jo, you can connect with them in the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club on Facebook. And if you loved today's episode, please share it with a friend, especially if you know a bookkeeper. Your share helps this podcast grow and reach more listeners just like you. And of course, before you go, please remember to rate, review, and follow your Master Your Business podcast. It helps us bring more incredible guests like Zoe into your ears. And until next time, folks, keep mastering your business. Thanks for listening.